Hey guys, and welcome to the Igloo, and today we're going to be talking about a few different things when it comes to the PvP and what you need to have prepared for this. So first of all, before you even jump onto PvP, you got to remember that characters will carry over. So if you have a character that is currently on the standard adventure mode, because that's what it's going to be called after this update, you're going to be needing a few things. One thing that you're going to really need is to have Grape Mentats. Grape Mentats are going to be helping you, as well as a few other types of Mentats, because then you'll be able to see people that are invisible. Now, most of the time, you're going to be like, why? It's because people are going to be popping stealth boys over and over, or they're going to have chameleon pieces of armor, or different forms of armor that will make them to be invisible. Now, why is invisible being so important inside Fallout 76? Invisible is to make sure that you can actually not become fast. Now, there's already a few different types of builds out there that actually promote this kind of playthrough when it comes to Fallout 76. So, again, when it comes to like materials and stuff that you're going to be needing for, you're going to need that. I'm not going to really talk about a lot of special builds when it comes to that, but I'm going to be talking more about like things that could make you to have more utility. Now, if you already have like a crazy weapon or whatever, this doesn't concern you. This concerns the player that doesn't have any type of legendary weapon, that is jumping into PvP servers thinking about everything else. First, you must have situational awareness, okay? So what is happening on these PvP servers is that you are going to be not having anybody show up on your map except for the top 3 players or people that are wanted. So if you are not wanted and you want to hunt people, you can gratefully do so. So it's going to be promoting high tier griefing when it comes to the top 3 most survived people on the map itself. Okay, so all you have to do is not be top 3 in a situation and hunt people over and over again. Now, a few things that you have to be concerned about. 1, your junk. All your junk is going to be lost as soon as you die. Your cap value is going to be gone. So I would recommend putting most of your caps on a secondary account if you have a secondary account, so that you don't lose those caps when you're going to be farming people in these PvP events when it comes to this type of stuff. 2, the second thing that you're really going to need to be concerned for is that your aid. You can't just have everything in your aid section anymore and have like 100 stim packs or whatever, because again, you're going to need to be very nutrition rich when it comes to going around in builds and working about different ways to like play around inside Fallout 76. Maybe you shouldn't have that many stim packs. Maybe you only have 1 to 2 like Nuka Shines if you're going to be using Nuka Shines. The reason why I'm going to be using Nuka Shines in PvP is that it's going to teleport me to a random spot. So that means I don't have to spend my caps in order to go to fast travel to not only my camp, Vault 76, or one of the train stations. Now, I would assume that the fast traveling to train stations is going to be significantly marked up. So the farther you are away from a certain area at this point, it's going to be very pertinent that you get that fast traveling perk that's in Charisma. Very important, because we don't know on how much they change the values when it comes to fast travel as well. So we're going to get into a few other things. When you are engaging into somebody, okay, and you have a certain type of build or whatever, being invisible is going to be your best friend. Another thing that I will highly recommend is to have either a Stealth Boy 1 or Stealth Boy 3. They're very easy to get, like super easy, all right? So you can literally just buy them in the Enclave, and then you just have to hit that up, buy it real quick, get everything else done, and be good about it. So as soon as you buy that initially and you have everything else, you are fine. Anything that increases your VATS criticals when it comes to drugs or anything else like that is going to be very important if you are going to be a melee assassin hunter build that's going to be stabbing people in the back. Now, when it comes to being in power armor, if you're going to be hunting people that are invisible, and there is a certain build that makes you pretty unkillable inside power armor, but I haven't gotten to cover that yet in the more so. I did kind of cover that in my other video, but again, it was an exploit in its own regard. but people were using that in its entirety in the first place in order for them to like make sure that their Under Armour and Over Armour is overlapping in each other. I didn't explain on how to do it, but at the same time, like, it's been patched out, so I think there's another way of doing it, but I don't know that one yet. So we're going to get into being in Power Armor. So having the targeting HUD and reactive plates is going to be one of your go-to pieces when it comes to having a build when you are going to be fully PvP decked out. Don't have a jetpack. You don't need a jetpack. If you really want to be elusive, you can carry 2 different jetpacks. It's going to be 20 weight, and you can put them in your stash boxes, which when they increase the carry weight for the actual camp sizes to go from 600 to 800, it's really good. So you can make the room. You can honestly make the room when it comes to selling things and everything else. So would I recommend being able to sell things on that server at that time? I mean, it's up to you if you want to take the risk about selling junk and everything else. I figure that the train stations, especially the one at the Enclave, are going to be heavily camped. Okay, heavily camped. And when you're fast traveling, you're going to have a timer on you. So that can be easily exploited as well if you know that there's a certain person at that spot, and you can make yourself technically invulnerable if you keep fast traveling back and forth. I can't confirm or deny it right now, but I'm just assuming and spitballing on the top of my head. There's a few other things that need to be addressed when it comes to a PvP server and how things are. So first of all, we're going to be very quaint. How you log out of Fallout 76 is very pertinent to what we need to see. So if you log out immediately in the middle of a gunfight, it's going to make it so that no parties can actually enjoy it when it comes to that. People are going to be wanting to PvP. I'm going to be doing the PvP inside Fallout 76 on the survival mode, and I know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be hunting people. I'm very good at it. It's called, I have like 6,000 hours in DayZ. I can probably do it over here as well. It won't be hard for me to stalk people and hunt people inside Fallout 76 because it's just going to where the hot zones are for the best action whatsoever. Then you go to Watoga and then possibly in other areas, but you normally go to concentrated areas and then you hunt people for hours upon hours. I've spent so much time on DayZ walking and playing Walking Simulator for hours because I know that I would have to find that. But at the same time, only having 24 people on a map that is equivalent to or a little bit bigger than DayZ Standalone, when DayZ Standalone had the actual ability to go from 60 players to 100 players when playing on a map. I'm not saying about current DayZ. I haven't played that much DayZ Standalone as of recently, so I can't really go into that kind of route. But I remember just spending hours just walking in the one direction because I don't have a car on that server, and it was a public server, and going around and hunting. So between those few things that I think that are going to be very important, there's also a few other things. There are, in the new DLC, when it comes to all these vintage drinks that you can make, there are some recipes that are going to be really powerful, and Div is going to be giving it to you. I currently don't have all the recipes. I haven't been farming to get the recipe plans from Div. I haven't been farming that location to get those recipes from Div. I just haven't. I'm probably going to be hitting up Reddit to get every single recipe from Div. There's probably a Reddit post out there for something like that, but I don't really know. So a few other things when it comes to that. When you are in groups, there are a few things that can make you extremely invulnerable when it comes to that. Extremely invulnerable. So when you're in a group, you can have a certain build type, especially when you're a 4-man group running around. You can pretty much make yourself unkillable. But at the same time, in this situation, in this PvP, you can't fast travel to your friends. So it's going to be very situational. So it's going to be a blessing and a curse when you're going to be fast traveling around back and forth. You got to actually fast travel to the closest thing. So endurance builds, well, not endurance builds, agility builds are going to be very key to catching up to your friends, especially if you want to like get there at a reasonable time and not just play, oh, he died, I gotta walk all the way back over there. Also, the queen fights are gonna be interesting, but at the same time, there's a train station right there, so it's not really that bad. I mean, you can't just fast travel right to the event. That's another thing that I really have concern for is the actual Scorched Speed Queen event. Do you actually go there? How is the Uranium Fever? What about the AWOL event that's at Robco? What about like there's so many questions when it comes to events. How you play the events? What do you do for the events? It's gonna be extremely interesting to see, especially for what Fallout 76 is going to do when it comes to like fighting, getting around, and doing that kind of stuff. Especially because the amount of latency that is on these servers is actually very substantial compared to other games. So I don't really have the FPX tracker when it comes to it, but I know that at times that there is a 160 to 140 millisecond delay, and sometimes worse when it comes to that, especially in the server tick rate. So it's going to be extremely important. Even if it's Amazon Web Services, there is still a good amount of delay when it comes to it. So peeking walls or doing stuff like that might not always be the most common thing, especially when it comes to VATS melee builds. You can actually VATS melee build somebody through a wall if they peek themselves out and then they go back in. If you're still locked on your target, you could actually teleport through the wall and knife them. It's kind of weird, but I mean, it's another reason why melee builds are OP, and Bethesda still needs to address some things before like this PvP does come out. And I hope to God that they actually fix it, because at the same time, it's going to have some major griefing mechanics that are going to be happening, especially for the top 3 or whatever that you can see. Personally, you should not see anybody whatsoever, period. Not the top 3 players. You shouldn't see them at all. Bounty system? Maybe. But at the same time, are you going to get a lot of caps for the bounty? No, you're going to be spending your caps to put a bounty on another player. So, what if that person already has all their stuff put away? Like everything. All their junk, all their aid, except for like a few stim packs. What are you going to get out of it? The caps that you're going to put the bounty on? Like, again, people are going to have to really think about what they are actually going to be building around when it comes to Fallout 76. Going around and having this kind of setup. Personally, would I want to have like 3 people mark the map? No. Because you know what? I'm going to be hunting them. We're going to be hunting them a lot because I want to experience this survival mode PvP to the best that I can. What about in events? Do people show up during the events so that you can actually coordinate with other players, part of the cooperative experience of the Scorched Beast Queen and other things? And then if you die outside the event zone and then you have to spawn back at the train station, like, are you outside the events again? And then you can get killed at the train station and then to be concurrently griefed? Like, there's so many questions because I just think of this as a person that would play the game and possibly thinking that maybe the Scorched Beast Queen on survival mode might drop better loot, might not. So again, there's no way to test this until we actually have the servers to see. So let's just put a little more food for thought on top of this. So we have the unrateable bases, right? We have many unrateable bases that are out there. You can stack foundations in order for you to do these things. What if somebody is just going to be having timer of a character that's just inside? They just want to be inside the camp so that they can just go in there. So the other thing that's going to be very important, especially for people that are inside unrateable bases that are in very common areas, like let's say White Springs Resort or something like that. Pretty much all you really have to do is log out and log in to that area. Now, when you log out and log in, right, so it kind of moves you to like the closest thing. Like let's say the tennis court inside White Springs. Is that area going to move you when you log out and log in the PvP server, as long as you don't go to adventure mode? Like, is that going to move you in its entirety like it does back to the tennis court so that you die? Because that will also be a bad move as well. People are just going to camp the tennis court because people are going to log out and log in right there. What if you can't really do that? That's going to be really bad. It's really going to be super bad when it comes to just going around, hitting that as a brick in a wall, and then next you know, you spawn in front of the tennis court, and then you die just by somebody looking at that spot. Like, I don't know what we're going to be seeing. So, personally, log out at your camp. Do not log out anywhere else but your camp. Okay, the big reason why I say that is like, if you're out and about in the wilderness, and I can understand it with server crashes. I completely can understand with server crashes because Bethesda hasn't been the most stable thing when it comes to Fallout 76 in its entirety in the first place. So I'm going to honestly be like, look, this is what we have. This is what you're going to be doing. We don't know everything that's going to be happening around. So when in doubt, log out at your camp. Don't log out at 76 because 76 is going to be a death trap. People are going to have so many problems when it comes to just going around and dealing with so much stuff. So I would personally never log out at 76. If you're a new player, like maybe that level 5 is going to be really good when it comes to just being there. It's just going to be extremely different. Now, this update is about to drop pretty soon, and I personally can't wait for it because at the same time, I like PvP. That's personally what I like. And I know that Fallout 76 is in a post-apocalyptic setting. It's one of the best settings when it comes to an open-world survival platform. That's why DayZ did so well so many years ago. And now they are finally out of like alpha access, which is amazing. But like at the same time, then you have games like Rust, where it's ultimately toxic. And then you have games like Ark. I know I've iterated this in videos before, but some people are going to be viewing this video at the same time as a brand new viewer. And they're going to be like, why is this person talking about these games again? Or why is this person talking about these games? Because that's where people do it right. And I know some people are just going to go to those games anyway to do it, but there's an incentive. Okay, there's an incentive to survival mode, and that incentive is 20% more XP. Now, the reason why I say that that's an ultimate incentive is because that XP is because it saves that individual time. It saves you from doing all this other crap all the time because it's such a grind fest for most of Fallout 76. Sometimes you just want to get to the game and just play and just have fun and do it with your friends. You might just need to do that incentive now in survival mode if you want to get the most out of the experience when it comes to being in a proper setting and getting everything else done. Now, that's the biggest thing that I do talk about is having that kind of level. And having that kind of level is going to be what you need because not everybody's going to have time to just dump 5, 6, 7, 8 hours into Fallout 76. I know some people will because some people have a passion for video games and some people will have that time. But most of the casual gamers will not, okay? And this is what comes down to it. This is why some people that are not like PvPers at all will go to the survival mode is because they value their time. And because they value their time, they're going to not like go to adventure mode because they know that they can get more bang for their buck if they go to survival mode. They'll get more XP if they go to survival mode. They'll get more caps if they kill another player in survival mode just in case. Because now that casual person that is farming will probably then engage somebody if they have full perk cards in a build or something like that, just so they can get that person away from them and so they could continue on to their business. It's going to be like this, and it's going to be very interesting to see this kind of regard over and over again, and people complaining on all the Reddits between Fallout 76 Reddit, Fallout Reddit, and everybody else. They're going to complain, and they're not going to be ready because those people that haven't played those survival games, they're going to complain a lot. And they're going to be the majority of people that complain. And it's going to be very interesting. Hopefully, you guys like this kind of content. Please leave a like, leave a comment down below. And if you really like this stuff, you can leave a subscription. If you really, really want to, I also have a Patreon. And if you want to play with me or another group of people, or you want to trade, I have a Discord. It is very active, and people use it all the time. Again, have a good one, guys.